Hello, I'm Mrs. Tegeler, the counselor for the 11th and 12th graders, and thank you for joining us for another video from our Beyond Berean video series. Today, we are covering the types of colleges and things to consider. So let's get started. You could take a guess of how many universities there are in the country. How many might you guess? Would you say 1,000? Would you say 800? Would you say 2,000? I mean, here are just the various types of selections of different types of four-year colleges and universities. And so if you were to take a guess, maybe write down a quick number. And would you have thought that there were over 2,800 four-year colleges and universities in the US? There's a huge number. And so that can make our students feel really confident that there is a place for them. And not just one place, there are multiple colleges and universities that can be just the right fit for your student. So we're going to cover a few of these. There's a number of Christian colleges across the country. And so some of the benefits that come with looking at Christian education and continuing on with Christian colleges and universities is that your student is going to get a biblical worldview. There are many denominations, there's many theological fits. And so I really encourage students to research this to see if it aligns with their convictions and how they learned about the Bible, to know, are they going to be taught in a biblical way based on how they've grown up and what they've learned and the discernment that God's given them. Having a biblical worldview going into the school is a huge benefit, as well as having believing professors, just as they've already been experiencing here at Berean. Often there's smaller class sizes, and so they have mentors, they have friends and people who love the Lord and get to continue walking that with them and in community. Admissions criteria definitely vary per college, and so some might be more selective than others. So you always have to look on those admission websites, or ask me or ask an admission officer, and know that some of these colleges require a statement of faith and some do not. Some may offer more institutional aid than other private schools and maybe some out-of-state colleges. And so it's always worth looking at what the net price calculator is or what the cost of tuition might be on that campus. Keep in mind, every September, we hold the Christian College Fair on our campus with over 20 colleges from across the country. So make sure that you mark that on your calendar, and we'll make sure that you know exactly the date as it gets closer. As far as other private colleges and universities, there's 70 alone just in California. And so what many of those colleges are going to be looking at is something called a holistic review process. So you'll see this little pie chart on the bottom right. So they're going to look at the extracurriculars your student has done. They're going to look at the academic quality of their work, and have they seen improvement in their work over time, or are they taking on some academic rigor? Some colleges look at SATs and ACT, some do not. So you always want to know if there's a college that requires that, or if it's optional, or if they don't need to see it at all. And then they also want to know students' personal experiences and leadership, their plans for the future, and things that they value and what really motivate them. These colleges vary in size and prestige and in cost. And so make sure, again, like I said before, look at that net price calculator that's on their website, or you can just Google in a certain university and then net price calculator to get an idea of what the cost of attendance might be specifically for your student. In California, we have 3 public college systems. So we have 2 that are four-year colleges, which are the Cal States and the UCs. And then we have our California Community College system. Of our Cal State universities, these really originated as 23 campuses to really support students that are wanting to get directly into a career field and be well trained. This is where many of our students will go for nursing. They want to go for teaching. They want to go for engineering, business, things that just get them well prepped to go straight into the career. So there's 23 campuses, as you see, in California, and students must have a C- or higher in what we call those A to G courses. If you don't remember what A to G courses are, make sure you check out that video that we've done in the series. And so they're going to really be taking a close look at what those courses are, that they were college prep, but then also that they have a minimum 2.5 GPA. Now, some campuses or some majors may be more selective than others. So always either asking, me or ask Miss Grieb, or go on the websites directly to get an understanding of which ones might be more selective or not as selective. Just always ask. For these, there's no essay requirement for the application. There's no letters of recommendation. There's not even any SAT or ACTs is needed. They're completely blind when it comes to those scores. They may ask, though, for the hours of extracurriculars that a student does. Now, for our UC system, this is California's primary academic research institution. And so there are 9 undergraduate campuses, Davis to the most north and UC San Diego to the most south. And so we've already touched a little bit on that holistic process when we're talking about private colleges. And so very similarly, the UCs are going to try and do a really well-rounded view of the student, not just academically, but also in leadership roles, in their commitment, in what their context is in the school, as well as home life, ways that they've had an upward trend in their course rigor, in their grades, their extracurriculars, personal circumstances. And so, they really want a good, well-rounded view of students. One thing to keep in mind is that although the minimum GPA to apply is a 3.0 between grades 10 to 12, the average accepted GPA from Berean is a 4.1, and that is, of course, weighted. So just keep in mind that they're really looking at a more selective pool. But one thing I think is really helpful within the UC system is that they tell students to apply broadly. You can see some of the most competitive universities within the UC system have as low of as a 10% admit rate, whereas you also have a UC that admits 94% of the students. So there's quite a range. So if you are a student that says that you know that you want to continue your education within the UC system, then you're encouraged to apply broadly to know that there's a place for you. And then we have our California Community College system. And so there's 116 California community colleges. The 4 that are the most prominent for our students, just because they're the most local, would be DVC and Los Medanos, as well as Contra Costa College and Los Positas College. It's 100% admit rate. The big encouragement is make sure that you graduate. And so, from here, you can get an associate's degree. There's even 29 of those colleges that offer bachelor's degrees. For our students, we really like to encourage them to look into the free tuition program called First Time Full-Time Free Tuition. And then if they're considering transferring to a 4-year college from a community college, then really consider what some of the guarantee programs are. And there are some incredible opportunities for students to transfer to the UCs, to the Cal States, and then St. Mary's that also has an agreement process. There are students from DVC, for example, or any of the other community colleges that really do venture beyond just these ones, but these are colleges that are very, very transfer friendly, especially with our community colleges, and really want to prioritize those students. So I want to highlight real quick the TAG program, this Transfer Agreement Guarantee Program. This is between the California community colleges and the UCs. A student in generally their sophomore year community college will select a school, one of these 6 colleges that they may be interested in applying to, and they can make it a guarantee admission into one of these schools. Now, as you see, there are 3 of the UCs that are excluded from the tag, but the good thing is this is not a binding agreement. So a student can make one of these UCs a guarantee, and then they can still apply any of the other 8 UCs, and then they can make their decision in May of that, second year of school, roughly, sometimes the 3rd year. They make their decision based on where they get in. And so if they want to go with the school they tagged at, great. If they don't want to, then they can be removed from that contract. So it is a sure guarantee process, and it's the real deal. So I really encourage our students to think about this as an amazing option to get incredible education from a 4-year university. Now, we also have out-of-state universities, and so there are many that have special out-of-state scholarship opportunities, and they want California students. So it's good to look into, what those scholarship opportunities based on maybe a certain region that you might be looking at. But one I really wanted to highlight is called the WUI, or the Western Undergraduate Exchange Program. And so this is a reciprocity agreement between the Western states. So for our students living in California, over 100 colleges within these states that are mentioned on the slide where they could earn a scholarship just because they're a California student. And so I really encourage you to jot down this website or just look up WUE, W-U-E, to see what participating colleges and majors are available for our California students. Now, the last few slides I want to touch on, there's fit and then research. When you're thinking about factors to consider and how to start researching those schools, there's several things. So the first is that academic fit. What's your likelihood of getting accepted? Are you only applying to reach colleges, or you have a balanced list of things that are target and likely ranges? Think about the type and the purpose of that college and really ask yourself, why do I want to go to college? And that answer is going to differ per student and might really help shape the type of colleges that you start to look at. Look at the academic offerings. Do they have the major or a certain career field that you're thinking of going into? Do they have learning opportunities for you inside the classroom, outside the classroom, whether that's things like research, whether that's internship, whether that's studying abroad or service opportunities? What sort of things are they going to get you ready for the career field when you graduate? Think about what the faculty is like, and again, that career preparation. You also want to think about the social factors, the demographics, the size, the location. Is this a residential campus where a lot of students live and you feel a real sense of community? Or is this a place where you live off campus and you find yourself walking or driving to campus a lot? Are you wanting a believing environment, or are you wanting a secular environment? Also, make sure that you're checking out the churches in the area to make sure that when you graduate, you are still getting plugged into the body of Christ and in the church. And so make sure that when you're doing college visits, you go check out the churches that are around that university as well. And then think about how you'd want to be involved in campus and look at sports and clubs and various activities. Lastly, the financial fit has to be there too. So looking at the merit scholarships that are available for students, the need-based aid, if there's funding opportunities for students, whether it's in research, what dining and board opportunities they are, and that general cost of living. Make sure that you're looking into what that is per university, not just what the tuition is when you look at the college website. The goal is that it meets all three of those characteristics. There's a likelihood of acceptance, it's that financial fit and affordable, and then it also has the academic programs and those general college preferences that you are wanting. Last slide is just some basic tips on how to research. So always stepping foot on campus is going to be your best way to get a feel for what that college is truly like day in and day out. Otherwise, always you can look at a college's official website. We have some tools on our Navient student college planning account. So every student has a portal to Navient. And so, really look into those college super match and that advanced college search. I also really like when students can talk with admissions officers, or you get to meet with me, or you get to meet with Miss Grieb, or maybe you're checking out some other websites. So I did list a few other websites here that I find really helpful when doing your research, such as niche.com, which gives kind of the student's perspective on being on a particular campus. I think College Board Big Future is really helpful. I love College Transitions Dataverse that can give you some data about what sort of scores you need, or what are universities that have the best academic programs, and it's very specific. I like KPEX, and then for students looking specifically at Christian universities, I really encourage you to log on to findyourchristiancollege.com. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Again, I'm Mrs. Tegeler. I'm the counselor for the 11th and 12th graders, and I hope this helps you as you start your research on all the various colleges that are out there as an option for you. There's many out there and many good fits. So I hope you're encouraged by that and just left with a little bit more tips on how to discover those fits for you. Have a great day.